John Joseph Fautenberry, born on July 4, 1963, and meeting his end on July 14, 2009, was a notorious American serial killer. His unsettling criminal journey unfolded during a period when he worked as a long-haul trucker. Fautenberry's chilling modus operandi involved establishing seemingly harmless connections with unsuspecting individuals, only to brutally end their lives. Between the years 1990 and 1991, Fautenberry embarked on a ruthless spree of violence that spanned across 4 different states. During this harrowing time, he claimed the lives of 5 innocent victims, leaving communities in terror and law enforcement agencies in pursuit. The heinousness of his crimes did not stop there. Shockingly, after his eventual capture, Fautenberry made a startling admission. He confessed to yet another murder, dating back to 1984, for which a different man had been wrongly convicted and sentenced. This revelation exposed a deep and disturbing pattern of violence that had remained concealed for far too long. The judicial system swiftly responded to the magnitude of his crimes. Fautenberry was brought to justice, found guilty, and sentenced to death for one of the murders. His execution took place at the Southern Ohio Correctional Facility in 2009, marking the end of a dark chapter in American criminal history. John Joseph Fautenberry's name is forever etched in infamy, a chilling reminder of the depths to which human depravity can sink. If you like this type of content, please leave a like, comment if you have any ideas for my future uploads, and subscribe if you are not yet subscribed. I appreciate you greatly. Now, let's continue with our video. In the shadowed pages of John Joseph Fautenberry's early life, a chilling drama unfurled. Born on July 4, 1963, in New London, Connecticut, his world was anything but serene. His father, a former Marine and police officer, vanished from their lives after John's sister's birth, shattering the family. With his father and grandparents disowning him, young John was entrusted to his mother, who would go on to marry twice more. Yet the stepfathers he encountered in his formative years proved to be cruel tormentors. Their brutality knew no bounds, with John once enduring a brutal beating for the most trivial of errors, mistaking a potato salad for tomato salad. The scars from these early traumas ran deep, forcing him to resort to fantastical measures, like using an imaginary hammer to secure his and his sister's blankets, as a desperate shield against perceived malevolent forces. The family's existence was a nomadic odyssey, continually uprooting from Ohio to Hawaii before finally settling in North Kingstown, Rhode Island, in 1983. By then, John Fautenberry had already brushed against the law, a dark portent of the horrors to come, with a stolen 1968 Chrysler in Atlanta and a subsequent capture in Heflin, Alabama, following a gas station heist. Tragedy's cruel hand struck in 1985 when his mother succumbed to cancer, pushing John further into the abyss. Driven by disillusionment and the numbing allure of drugs and alcohol, he took to the open road as a long-haul trucker. His journey was marred by job loss after job loss, with poor performance and negligence dogging him relentlessly. As his life careened into chaos, a growing list of convictions for minor offenses marked his descent into darkness, including carrying a concealed weapon in Ohio and causing a public disturbance in Ledyard, Connecticut. But the darkest twist in this twisted tale was yet to come. In 1986, Fautenberry sought refuge in Portland, Oregon, guided by his birth father. However, this lifeline quickly unraveled as his father moved away, taking John's half-brothers with him. Amid the wreckage of his family bonds, a shocking affair emerged with his stepmother, Olivia Herndon. Despite the passage of time and Fautenberry's incarceration, their unconventional relationship endured, adding an extra layer of intrigue to a life fraught with darkness and secrets. The enigmatic, dramatic saga of John Joseph Fautenberry's early years serves as a chilling prelude to the horrors he would later inflict on the world as an infamous American serial killer. The chilling account of John Joseph Fautenberry's murderous rampage unveils a tale of darkness that sent shockwaves across multiple states. His malevolent journey into infamy commenced with the life of 47-year-old Donald "Don" Nutley from Waco, Texas. Fate intertwined their paths in November 1990 at a truck stop in Troutdale, Oregon. Discovering Nutley's intention to visit Mount Hood for target practice, Fautenberry cunningly offered to accompany him. Don agreed, but it was a fateful decision. The two embarked on their journey, but Nutley mysteriously vanished. It wasn't until April 21, 1991, that his gruesome remains, a skull bearing a bullet hole and teeth, were discovered in a wooded area northeast of rural Zigzag. The ominous procession continued on February 1, 1991, as Fautenberry crossed paths with 27-year-old fellow trucker Gary Farmer from Springfield, Tennessee. This encounter at the Pilot truck stop in Bloomsbury, New Jersey, near the I-78, turned deadly. Fautenberry claimed Farmer had made unwanted advances, which became a pretext for murder. He robbed Farmer of his belongings, leaving his lifeless body in the truck's sleeping compartment. Farmer's identity remained hidden for a brief period, as authorities released a sketch of a man wanted for questioning. The victim had been en route to Hunterdon County, New Jersey, working for CPA America at the time of his demise. A mere 16 days later, 45-year-old Joseph Darren Jr., a divorced father and data supervisor, mysteriously vanished from his Miami Township, Ohio home. His two daughters were dropped off at their mother's home in Union Township, but Darren failed to return. A co-worker filed a missing persons report, but the search proved futile. Strangely, Darren's white 1988 Subaru was spotted in Portland, Oregon and Idaho, with Fautenberry using his credit cards extensively. On March 20th, a motorist discovered a lifeless body near River Downs in Anderson Township, later identified as Joseph Darren. Fautenberry had posed as a hitchhiker, luring Darren to his doom before robbing him. Fueled by a stolen vehicle, Fautenberry embarked on a cross-country odyssey. He found himself at a party in Portland on February 23rd, where he crossed paths with 32-year-old bank teller Christine Ann Guthrie. She willingly joined Fautenberry and was last seen at the Silver Sands Motel in Rockaway Beach. Guthrie disappeared, and her lifeless body was discovered on April 1st near Timber, having succumbed to gunshot wounds. Leaving a trail of devastation in his wake, Fautenberry left Darren's car at the Seattle-Tacoma International Airport and boarded a one-way flight to Juneau, Alaska. There, he found work on a fishing boat and resided at the Bergman Hotel. On March 14, he encountered 39-year-old Jefferson Jeff Diffie, a miner at the Greens Creek silver mine. Fautenberry's deceitful charm lured Diffie to his condominium, where he was brutally beaten and stabbed 17 to 18 times. Fautenberry stole Diffie's possessions, including a handgun and money. The disappearance of Diffie triggered concern, prompting co-workers to file a missing persons report. Meanwhile, Fautenberry continued to exploit Diffie's accounts, leaving a dark trail of financial transactions that would ultimately expose his malevolence. John Joseph Fautenberry's arrest, trial, and imprisonment represent a chilling conclusion to a dark chapter in criminal history. 3 days after the tragic death of Jeff Diffie, law enforcement apprehended Fautenberry in his Juneau hotel room. Inside that room, critical evidence was discovered, including Jeff's bank card, which played a pivotal role in the investigation. During intense interrogations, Fautenberry made a shocking revelation. He confessed to a total of 6 murders, including the gruesome 1984 stabbing death of a 25-year-old homeless man in Roseburg, Oregon. Fautenberry's account described a fateful encounter in a park fueled by alcohol, spiraling into a fit of rage. The disturbing twist in this tale was that another man had previously been imprisoned for the same crime, but later recanted his confession, leading to the abandonment of the investigation into Fautenberry's involvement. Fautenberry's life was marked by suspicion, as he was briefly considered a suspect in unrelated cases due to his profession as a long-haul trucker. Although questioned about a fellow truck driver's murder in New York, he was eventually cleared of any suspicion. However, a recorded telephone interview with WKRC-TV laid bare his involvement in 4 of the murders, driving him to a harrowing attempt by self-inflicted wrist injuries with a razor. Fortunately, he was discovered in time and saved from further harm. While serving his sentence, Fautenberry was profiled as a serial offender, much like other infamous criminals. However, he vehemently denied fitting the typical serial killer profile, claiming his motives were primarily financial rather than driven by personal or sexual gratification. Held at the Lemon Creek Correctional Center, Fautenberry faced the legal consequences of his actions. Initially held on a $1 million bail, this amount was later increased to $3 million as additional charges piled up against him. He was indicted for the murders of Diffie, Farmer, and Darren, with his first trial taking place in Alaska. In a plea deal that saw other charges dropped, he admitted guilt in the killing of Diffie, resulting in a 99-year prison sentence. Fautenberry's legal journey took another turn as he was extradited to Ohio, where he received the gravest of sentences, the death penalty, for the murder of Joseph Darren. He was consigned to await execution at the Southern Ohio Correctional Facility. Later, he was transported to New Jersey, where he faced the consequences of his actions once more, pleading guilty to the Farmer case and receiving a life sentence. Despite multiple appeals, Fautenberry's fate remained sealed. In 2009, he was executed by lethal injection, marking the final chapter in a tale of chilling crimes,